to talk on the self-love topic of manifesting the life that you want, okay? I believe that this is such a special message of self-love because it shows you that you have the power to create the life that you want. Remember the butterfly with the paintbrush in the middle? All about creation. So I want to tell you guys this idea, this image, this persona of Radiant Reagan is actually like a new thing for me. People that meet me now in the last 2 to 3 years, they talk about, you know, oh, you're so bubbly and bright and positive and all these type of things, and that's really nice of them to say those things, but this person that I am now, that I have transformed into, this Radiant Reagan is actually the woman that I wanted to be for a long time. So I talk about that, and I'm very honest with people, and I say it took me a long time to get here, and they're like kind of confused. They're like, huh? Because they kind of believe that this has always been who I am. Although I am still the same person, I have done a lot of work on myself to become this person that you see now, Radiant Reagan. I want to tell you a little story. So I used to work about 5 years ago at this company, and they actually had it was a heating and air company, and that's what Kia's on tonight. I'm like, Kia, when I say reliable, where are you at? Where you at? So yeah, I used to work at a heating and air company, got promoted several times, you know, and really established myself there, created a customer care department, and she was telling me today that they still have it, so I thought that was funny. But anyway, they gave, I was going through a really hard time. I was really lost. A lot of people didn't know. I still was, was cheerful. But somehow or another, they kind of got wind that I was having a rough time. I was going through my divorce. And they pulled me to the side, kind of was whispering. They were like, don't tell anybody, but we have these tickets to go see Oprah Winfrey, The Life You Want weekend. I mean, I think I lost my mind. I've always wanted to see Oprah Winfrey. They had a young Van Zant. I mean, I just went crazy. So they were like, you can bring one person. So of course I'll call my mother. I'm like, Mom, we're gonna go see Oprah Winfrey. So here's what's funny. They actually told me, dress really nice, Reagan, because which, you know, they didn't have to tell me that. I was gonna go see Oprah. Okay, I was gonna bring it. But they said, you know, dress really nice or whatever, because guess what? We think you're actually going to be able to meet her. Mom, do you remember this? Did my mom remember this? So they were like, you actually might be able to meet her. So they had tickets from a radio station that they invested tens of thousands and thousands of dollars in advertisement, you know, every year. So they would give them these tickets to different various events or whatever. So we go to see Oprah, and we are dressed to the nines because we think, honey, we're going to have lunch with Oprah today. So we just popped in there, and people had on jeans and t-shirts, and we were like, they must not be going where we're going, you know. We're going to be escorted over to a different area. So anyway, we did not meet Oprah. Can you believe that? We did not meet Oprah.
What a shocker.
My mother said, of course I remember. But, I mean, it was still laid out. We were in a club suite, beautiful food, you know, flowers. I mean, it was beautiful. But I say all that to say, 5 years ago, 2015, I did not know who I was. I was very lost. I was in a very dark time in my life. Probably the lowest point I had ever been in. Just very lost, no direction. And when the company blessed me with those tickets, they don't really, I know they don't know what they did, and the lady that gave them to me, Neha and Patty, they didn't know what they did, but that day, what I was seeing planted so many seeds in me. You know, I meditated for the first time ever. I think this was my mother's first time too, meditating with Deepak Chopra. Like, that was for real. I was watching Oprah. I saw Ayanna Van Zant, and just kind of went through this whole thing of looking at these people. You know, they were spiritual advisors, spiritual leaders, healers, life coaches. You know, they had yoga. They had the soul cycle people there taking us through soul cycling. I mean, it was like something I had never experienced before, and I was like, that's what I want my life to be. That's what I want. That's that was the light that day of seeing what I wanted and who I want, and the radiant Reagan. I'm like, radiant Reagan, that's what the stuff that she would do. That's the stuff that she would do. So I felt so blessed. And they talked about the laws of attraction. I was just learning this idea of the secret during that time. I had never heard of that before. And the laws of attraction. So it was, my mother said it was life-changing. It truly was. It truly was life-changing. There was a book that someone gave me during that same year. It was called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And during that year, I was so troubled and so lost that I put the book to the side. I read a little bit of it. Deepak Chopra is on the cover giving his critique, you know, his a quote about the book. And I just was like, I don't know about that. I pushed it to the side, buried it in a corner. But anyway, had these visions though of this person. You know, this is 5 years ago though. And I started to work towards those goals constantly with deep intention. I started to pray. I started to try to meditate. You know, the things that I had learned at that weekend with Oprah. I started to slowly but surely try to direct myself in that path. I visualized happiness and peace with my children surrounding me. So when I would meditate, I would visualize, and we were in turmoil, honestly. Like my family was in turmoil because we were going through this divorce, and it was hard, and it affected the children as well. But I saw smiles on their faces, and God kept giving me a vision and insight. And I don't know what it was, but God showed me myself speaking on a stage. What is this? Like, why am I on the stage? And not only was I speaking on the stage, but I was very confident and I was powerful when I was talking. I wasn't just standing there like, oh, I was like, whatever I was saying in these visions, I was going in. And so I remember I spoke eloquently, but I was bold and I was courageous. And the vision that I had, that was not who I was at the time that I had those visions. But during the prayers and meditation, I asked God for deeper spiritual connections with people. I asked God to heal old wounds, and I asked God to teach me patience. Be careful what you ask for, right? Especially from Him.
Never ask God for patience. Never.
Woo, don't ask God for patience, Lord. Don't ever ask God for patience, because He will give it to you, okay? So during this time,
yeah, vision boards were helpful too.
Vision boards are very, yeah, I made sure I did a vision board. It was just a time of covered in darkness, battling turmoil, but understanding that God was showing me the little light here and there.
Swimming your way to the surface.
Yep, here and there, little light. So I started praying and praying. I started hearing things. I was like, I don't know if I'm hearing this. God is telling me, you need to write a book. What? Me write a book? Like, what are you talking about? Not only a book, but your life story. I'm like, at the time, nobody don't want to hear about my little raggedy life. No, that book is not going to sell. I'm going to write a book. I'm not going to have any readers on that book. And then everywhere I went, and this was like for a couple of years, random people would say stuff. And they would be like, you know you're supposed to write that book. I would be like, I would go to church and people would be, guest speakers would be, God told you to write that book and you still haven't written. I'm like, oh, they're talking to me. So it's just been a matter of, I did start to write. I started the process. But during that process, it was so painful. The things that were coming up to the surface, especially from, is that Patty from Reliable? Love seeing you. Is that Patty that I was just talking about? Miss Patty, is that you? Tell me if that's you. I'm sorry, I just saw a comment of a Miss Patty and I was like, I just spoke her name. So anyway, started writing this book, but it was so painful, I kept pushing it to the side. I can't do it. I don't have the strength. Okay, so, but what I discovered was that life is is a journey, right? And when you choose to write your book and you choose to tell your story, you show people that your story is worthy to be told. Life is about growing, and it's about finding God more deeply, right? Everything you do, every direction that you take, you're looking for God, you're finding, and more importantly, you're finding Him within and where He is inside of you, because He's in each and every one of us. So all in God's timing, right? But I wanted everything in my own timing. But remember, I asked God to teach me patience. But I decided that in creating this life that I wanted, in manifesting this life that I wanted to make sure that I built it on the foundation of God. In Haggai 2, say it for me, Akra. Say it. She said Haggai. I called my mother today. I'm like, how do you pronounce this book? But it's a book in the Bible. I think it's Haggai, but Abra said it's Haggai. Haggai 2, I'm going to go with Abra. 2 and 7 through 9. I will shake all nations. This is what God says. I will shake all nations, and what is desired by all nations will come, and I will fill this house with glory, says the Lord Almighty. The silver is mine, and the gold is mine, declares the Lord Almighty. The glory of this present house will be greater than the glory of the former house, says the Lord Almighty. And in this place I will grant peace, declares the Lord Almighty. So in that scripture, I choose to lean on God's words. I know that my latter years will be better than the former. These are the promises that I stand on because I build my house on solid rock. So when I'm manifesting that life that I want and I'm seeing the vision, it's all on God. It's all based on the foundation and the solid foundation on God. So I tell you all too, make sure you build your house on the rock. A foolish man builds his house on sinking sand. I lean on the promises of God because He doesn't explain to me how He'll do it or when He'll do it, but He just tells me that He'll do it. And so I have to lean on that because He has never left my side. Just like He talks about in Matthew chapter 7 and 24. Everyone who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who builds his house on rock. Okay? So that's basically what I want to say as far as with manifesting. Whatever you choose to do, make sure your foundation is solid. Make sure that's where you start. For me, I have been going through this transformation, and like I said, the seeds were planted 5 years ago. The reason why butterflies are so significant to me, right? You guys know. I mean, people that watch my page or look at my page, Patty said that's her! Oh my God, Abra! Patty, I just said your name! Oh my goodness, Miss Patty, do you remember you gave me the tickets to see Oprah, my mother and I? Oh my God, Patty is on it, y'all. I have not seen Miss Patty or talked to Miss Patty in so many. Miss Patty is on the live show. Kia, Miss Patty is on here. Hey, Miss Mitchell. So anyway, in writing my book, I realized why God told me I needed to write this book. So as I'm writing, I'm like, oh, this is why. Because He wanted me to share my transformation. This was the metamorphosis that I went through. The process. God will take you through the process. I asked for deeper spiritual connections. I asked for this. I asked to be enlightened. I wanted deep connections with people. I asked God to teach me patience. I wanted to heal these areas in my life. Just like the butterfly goes from, the egg to the caterpillar to going inside the pupa, which is the cocoon, and then staying in there and dying as a caterpillar, but being reborn as a butterfly. And that's what I had to do. I had to go through the process of life, death, and rebirth. So molding, forming, dying to my old self, and then being reborn and made new into a new creation. That was my life. That's why God said, Miss Patty, my mother said, thank you for the Oprah tickets. She said, thank you for that changed our life. That truly changed our life. So knew I had to, be born again. So I was baptized on, through the long darkness. I came out of it, and I realized I needed to do something that would be powerful to myself and to show the change that I had made. So I got baptized. New Year's Eve, 2019, your girl went down, all the way down in the water because I knew that I needed to be cleansed. The same year, 2019, last year, I was at one of the women's facilities, domestic violence support centers, and I was talking to one of the directors, Miss Kersey, Linda Kersey, beautiful woman, and I was just talking to her, and I was like, I want to show the women makeup and self-care and beauty, and we're going to have fun, and we're going to dance, and we're just going to have a great time, and they're going to have a ball. And she's like, okay, that's cool, that's great, let's do it. And then as we're leaving out, I'm like, oh, by the way, just to tell you, between me and you, I actually am a survivor of domestic violence too, and this is why I love this so much, to be able to do this. And she said, what? Are you kidding me? And I said, no, I just wanted to tell you that, but it's between me and you, okay, girl? And she's like, you need to share your story. She's like, you need to share it so women can be healed, so that they can see you and know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. She said, I want you to be the keynote speaker of our domestic violence vigil. I was like, what? I just was whispering in your ear, and now you asking me to do this. And so, anyway, she said, when you share your story, you bring it out of darkness and you shed it to the light, and people can be healed by it. And that's really all she had to say, because I said, you know what? I should share this because it's something that happened, but it doesn't hold me to that, So anyway, at the domestic violence vigil, as I spoke that night, when I got down, at the very end, I went to the lobby and I saw my friends and my family, and, my friends were like, Reagan, you're the butterfly now. You're finally the butterfly. You can fly your wings, and you're so amazing, and this and that. And I was like, I can't. There's something in me holding me back. And they're like, no, but Reagan, you're the butterfly. You just were on stage, and you're radiant Reagan, and you're this and you're that, and we're ready to see you fly. And I was like, I can't. It's something. I couldn't explain it. It was something in me that held my feet to the ground. And I didn't know what it was, but it was stifling to me. And I couldn't move, and I couldn't fly. I knew my wings were there. I knew I had transformed, but I still could not spread my wings to fly. What I did was, at that time, I became more intentional about my book. I was like, you know what? I'm going to pull out my book, and I'm really going to write this book. I'm ready to share my story. After I did the domestic violence vigil, I was ready to share my story. So as I was writing, I was doing so much thought-provoking things, from my childhood, and I shared this with you all before, the struggles that I had with my identity, because, I say my mother is black, my father is white, black family, white friend. It was just very confusing. Who am I? Who is this person, And so I struggled a lot with that as I was a child, but writing was so raw, and it felt like I was literally stripping layers away that I had spent many, many years of my entire life forming these layers, closing me up, push that down, push that down, push that down. And I had all these layers, and then with writing, it was like I had to pull this layer off and talk about that, and then pull this layer off and talk about that, and pull this off. So I would go through writing for 1 hour and then crying for 3 hours. So I was letting all these things come to the surface, and so much I hired a literary coach or agent, and I started talking to him, and he's like, I wanted him to hold me accountable, like, let's go, let's write this book. And he's like, give me words, I need more words. And as he's reading this stuff, he's like, I need more. And I'm like, oh, slow down, because I gotta process all this stuff. I had to reach out to my therapist. There's no shame in that. I had to reach out to my therapist to start helping me to process these stories that I was finally writing and finally bringing up from the surface. And I said, this is what God was saying why I needed to write this book. What I did also during that time, I pulled out this book, and I want to show y'all. This is one of my favorite. This is probably my favorite book in this world. world. It's called The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself. Had this book for 5 years, never picked it up because I was scared. I read a little bit. It has Deepak Chopra. Read this book carefully and you will get more than a glimpse of eternity. That was on the, New York, #1 New York Times bestseller. Started reading this book during that time, and it really helped me to understand. I bought this book for, any and everybody that I love. I've either told you about this book or read this book to you or told you to get it or sent it to you or something, or was reading it and gave it to you. Like, this book changed my life. And as I was reading this book, I started to understand about me. That's why I was supposed to write this book, because it was helping me to bring things to the surface. Now, this is one of my favorite chapters. I'm going to read just this one part. Chapter 11, Pain, the Price of Freedom. One of the essential requirements for true spiritual growth and deep personal transformation is coming to peace with pain. No expansion or evolution can take place without change, and periods of change are not always comfortable. And then it goes on to say about having problems surface and come to the surface. You have to ask yourself, what it is that made you react, and why did you react in your heart? What is the feeling? Why is that happening? People don't normally ask why. They just try to keep it from happening, right? You must go deeper than that and look at the dynamics of the layers that have been created. At the core, there is pain. And it talks about those layers that I was trying to keep tight, keep those layers up. But that book that I was writing, my autobiography in my life, was stripping those layers away, stripping those layers away. I'm not done writing my autobiography, but I've completed the sections that released my feet from the ground. And that's why I'm in front of you right now. I released onto paper the old stories that held me in bondage. I discovered where my current struggles are, where they originated from, and how they connected to my past. This gives me the power to correct and change negative mental thought patterns and behaviors going forward. I am rewriting those old stories because my new story is one of life, death, and rebirth. Just like I said about that butterfly. Radiant Reagan is a new creation formed in God's glory. And just as I saw all those things, with Oprah that day, thank you, Miss Patty. You are so beautiful. That changed my life. That truly changed my life. You blessed me with those tickets that day. Just like the Oprah Winfrey weekend, my life is the life that I want, right? And that's why I want to talk to you guys about manifesting the life that you want. I am the butterfly now. And I know that I can help you, especially with this show, to find the butterflies in all of you. Through this show, which is my ministry, I will help you create your wings to fly and and manifest the life that you want. And for the guys out there, I saw we had a bunch of guys tonight. For the guys out there, for the men out there, I want to help you become the eagle, that soars, I just want us all to be able to fly and to be free in how we walk, how we talk, how we move. This to me is real self-love, right? So I'm going to conclude with this last quote, and I have this written, in a little cute little note hanging over my desk. Then we're going to hit our dance break, okay? Because we all going to spread our wings tonight. This is a quote by Sam Sunquist. He says, some days you have to create your own sunshine. All right, what y'all